The Wednesday Media Pulse is live on YouTube. I'm Rich Lieberman, and welcome to the show. You picked a great day to come here. If this is your first day, if you're a regular, well, hey, welcome aboard also. If you're watching, by the way, not live now, but at a later date, please, thank you, tell your friends and everybody. Look, I've been working on this for some time now. We don't have an official story yet, but I can tell you this: a very dynamic, a very significant, shall we say, personnel possibility taking place at one of the more underperforming Bay Area television news stations is permeating inside the various offices, not just here, but at Nexstar. What does it have to do with? I'll tell you. KRON, which is owned by Nexstar, they've been flailing away at the ratings, the local ratings. Look, they've been an independent now for years. They haven't really made a significant dent in the local news apparatus, but now they are mulling the idea, the very real possibility of going out, taking a risk, and hiring, you bet, Frank Somerville. Somerville. Remember him? From Channel 2, KTVU. Multi-faceted man. Very good news anchor. Perhaps a little troubled. But apparently that's in his past, although with a situation like alcohol and drugs, it's never in your past. It's all about dealing with a problem like that day by day. That's why they say one day at a time. But we'll put that aside and talk about the non-personal aspects of it first, and then we'll go into the business end. Look, I don't know Frank Somerville all that well. I do know that he apparently has taken his situation, both personal and public and business, very seriously. Hasn't had a drink for over 2 years now. Has been working out, which he does anyway, has been working out very steadily, has been talking to various people, the few people that he still confides in, and trying to map a plan to get back into the anchoring business. He just turned 66 not that long ago, but still looks good, has a command. Obviously, nobody ever, well, few people did, doubted his acumen as a very, very top flight news anchor. Nobody denies that. The question was, and still is, would a station take a chance and hire Frank Somerville? And I've spoken about this countless times. Look, I said there was a really good chance that Sacramento, that market, which by the way is a very underrated TV news market, would possibly hire Frank, maybe even the ABC News station up there, not CBS, none of the other markets, or excuse me, none of the other stations would take a chance on Frank Somerville. I thought Sacramento could be in the mix. Wasn't the case. And let me say something. This is not a story right now. The story is that KRON, it's not just a KRON decision, it's a Nexstar and KRON decision. And what do they got to lose? And that's in the headline. Well, let me just say this. Were I to be of the position of hiring, and I'm not, obviously, KRON had had multitudes of anchors. Some have left on their own volition. Some have been forced out because of personal reasons, budgetary reasons. Look, Pam Moore has left, retired. They had to get rid of Ken Wayne. A lot of that had to do with their own budget or lack of money, that kind of a thing. They have Grant Lotus right now, hasn't really moved the needle. They're sort of like Wonder Bread is KRON. But could they make a dynamic move? Could they absolutely talk about move the needle? I think it would be rather obvious to answer all those questions with a definitive yes. Look, Somerville, nobody knows how to read a teleprompter. He's a pretty damn good interviewer. He's got name recognition. He has, look, let's not forget, he had 31 years at Channel 2, almost 12 years as the anchor that replaced Dennis Richmond. Did a hell of a job. The ratings were there. He and Julia Hayner worked magic together. She's gone now. Obviously, he was let go after just a multitude of problems. He was drunk on the air, but that was more of a just not just being drunk, but he also had residue from pharmaceuticals, if you will. I don't know Frank that well, and Frank will be the first to tell you that. But I do think he would make for absolutely a terrific addition. I think he's learned his lesson. I don't base that on any inside knowledge other than just from a pure back and forth, from a purely observational look. I think obviously it would create mounds of instantaneous buzz for KRON, and boy, could they use somebody. You might be thinking, well, come on, this has been a rumor in the past for years now. Well, it's only been about 3.5 years since the whole Somerville brouhaha. Most of his legal issues are behind him. Obviously, there's things on the internet, that video of him staggering out of that downtown Oakland restaurant where they put him in the car. He didn't know what was taking place. He was pretty much bleeped up. I think all of those issues he knows about. He's taking it to task. I think he's come to grips with all of that. Again, I'm just giving you my own personal opinion. But would KRON take the chance and hire him back? He's already said on my program he would not be hesitant to take a drug test every day. I don't think Frank really drinks anymore. I think he's more about working out in the gym, about talking to people, you know. Would it be a controversial move? Absolutely, it would be. Would it be risky? Yes, it would be risky. But let me just be blunt here. I'm not taking a side here. I'm giving you what I hope is perceived and is viewed upon as strictly an observational take. KRON could use a dynamic hire. I think Frank would be of that ilk. I think Somerville has the chops to go back, see this as truly his really, really, really last chance to get his life back and to perform a function. I think he understands that. I don't think, this is just my personal opinion, I don't think it was all about booze with Frank. It was a combination of things. I think he had to deal, still has to deal with a multitude of personal issues. His domestic life. He was dealing with a divorce. He was dealing with being a father to a adopted daughter in which he had to undertake some issues that arose and combine that with his domestic situation, all the other issues that he was dealing with. I'm not making excuses. Frank would be the first to tell all of you, no excuse for what had happened. But here's the deal. Every one of us at some time or another has had to deal with life issues. Some of us can deal with it better. Some of us have support and a personal mechanism which allows us to deal and to put up with and to undertake issues that somehow, some way, even if they don't directly involve us, have to do with us. We have jobs. We have, situations that arise out of the blue, whether it's personal, business, health, God forbid. And frankly, no pun intended, didn't know how to deal with these issues. And therefore, in a very, very, very public position like he had, just simply could not handle all the outside forces. That's not to say he's going to be able to come back onto a news set and live happily ever after, but I do think he understands what has happened. I think he's dealing with these issues head on. I also believe he is truly remorseful, understands that he not only put himself in jeopardy and others, but friends that confided in him, friends that truly thought that he truly wanted to get his act and life together. I think we all are allowed a second, sometimes even a third and a fourth chance. He didn't kill anybody, thank God. I think he understands he could have very, very seriously injured or hurt someone, if not killed them. And I also think he understands that a new chapter, like apparently what KRON perhaps is mulling, is something that could really, really help him and would make for it absolutely thrilling. And you talk about a story that would uplift all of us pretty much, right? I don't want to make this too much of a deal, but the fact that the executives at Nexstar and at KRON, at their own news staff, they don't have a general manager, folks. KRON does. There's been some rumors about a certain person, but that hasn't developed. But the people that exist, the people who have opinions and the wherewithal to go to Nexstar, this would involve a lot of people. This would involve somebody at KRON going higher up to the higher ups at Nexstar and saying, look, this would be something to which we would love to do. And we've talked to Frank, which they have not yet talked to Frank. But, people might be asking, well, what about money? What about that? That's not an issue. Okay. Believe me on that part. Frank Somerville is not in a leveraged position. They're not going to, pay him 50 cents an hour kind of a thing. I don't mean that literally. You know what I'm talking about. It would involve a lot of fence mending. It would involve a lot of, decisions. I'm sure they can work something out. Money would not be an issue. I think it would be unbelievably tremendous, a move the needle moment. Okay. You want to talk about ratings? You want to talk about, oh my God, Somerville's back on the air? You want to talk about how that would absolutely move the needle at a station that could use a jolt? You're talking about Frank Somerville. He's got faults. We all have faults. I'm not condoning his past behavior. As I just indicated, we all have certain issues. We all have our own personal inner demons. He could have hurt somebody. He hurt a lot of people up here, but thank God he didn't hurt or kill anybody. So the idea that a KRON could take a chance, and look, with life, every day you take chances. Sometimes you take bigger chances, but nevertheless, you take chances. I think this is one that's worth the risk. And by the way, if God forbid they were to get humiliated again, and I mean that not literally, but figuratively, and I don't think it would happen. I think, again, Somerville, I'm going to repeat this many a times. I think he understands the situation. I think he's in a much better adult and an emotional frame of mind, if you will. It would be an incredible talk about move the furniture around. It takes a lot and would take a lot of guts to do something like this. But is he deserving of it? Perhaps not. But just even talking about it, which is my sources telling me is taking place, perhaps that's monumental. Now, let me repeat something, or actually not repeat it. Let me just say something. Frank Somerville has not met with the people at KRON or Nexstar. They have had internal discussions. I do believe they know full well that he would probably have to succumb to certain, limitations and be ready to accept certain parameters if they were to take another chance and give him a gig. Maybe it wouldn't be directly at 6 and 10 or 11 o'clock. Maybe it would be some form of audition type of a thing right away. Put them on, say, at 5 o'clock or 6. I'm just speculating on that aspect out loud. But I think it would be a dynamic move. I think it's well worth the risk. And I think Frank Somerville is a changed individual. I think he understands the situation he is in. More importantly, his own personal life. Forget the business life, although that's why we're here today and why I'm bringing you this exclusive news right now. And if I hear of anything on the outside or as a result of this broadcast, and this is just, folks, this is just discussions. But the fact that they're taking place at all indicates something could be imminent. We'll wait and see. Hey, you've been watching Rich Lieberman on the Bay Area Rich Lieberman Media Pulse. Please make a contribution if you want to see exclusives and opinions and scoops. Please make any kind of a donation is helpful. Please be a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And thanks for watching, and we will see you later.